Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Just another everyday rant from a guy in his car on his way to work. So, let me see, what am I going to talk about right now? Let's start off with all these celebrities and CEOs that basically bribe their kids' way into colleges. You know, I was watching, I'm a big fan of Roland Martin. I was checking out his show and seeing how some of the people on his panel were basically saying that, these kids should stay in because it's not their fault or whatever, it's their parents and stuff like that. And some of the panelists were basically saying they should stay in. Me, personally, I'm like this. Just like if you cheat on a regular exam, hey, you get kicked out, right? So, they lied and they had some of their, about their kids getting scholarships for playing for tennis, crew. If you don't know what that is, that's basically rowing. Tennis, crew, some basketball, whatever, track and field, all that shit, right? So, they're not playing anything. So guess what? If they got in that way, they got to go out that way. They need to get out. So you got into college on false pretenses. Then the next is, they need to go if their parents literally paid for someone to take their admissions test. If your parents paid for somebody to take your admissions test, that means you didn't do it. That means you got to go. You have to go. Period. Because you didn't deserve that spot. You know, you might have got in and had to take some remedial classes. Hell, the first time I went to college, I had to take one remedial class. You know, and I went to an HBCU. So, I mean, if they're paying for their kids to get into these schools and people taking tests for them, guess what? They didn't make it to get in. They have to go. They have to be kicked out of school. That's just the facts about it. So, moving on past that, right? Now we have to get into the whole, let's talk about how so many politicians right now are, and I'm saying Republicans in general, that don't really give two shits about the Constitution. We already know that for one. The rule of law, we already know that for two. Or the budget. Because they're letting everything that they so-called stand for get ran over. At least when Richard Nixon was in, Republicans wanted to impeach him. It was bipartisan and they were going to do it together. And then he quit. They should have put his happy ass in jail. But then he resigned as president because he knew his party wasn't going to back him. Now we have to understand that Republicans now do not care about rule of law long as it doesn't pertain to them. And then understanding that the issue they have with AOC is because of fear. But I talk a lot about that anyway, so I'm going to move past that. Now, I was checking out something, and now there's a guy that made an app for people that wear MAGA hats so they can be businesses that are safe spaces for them to go to, right? Because they don't want to be discriminated against. Here's the funny part about that whole thing. Now, you have businesses that discriminated against people for being gay. There are businesses that discriminate against people for being black. That they don't have to serve you. Guess what? If a business says they don't, I'm not gonna sit back and be like, hey, look, your business discriminates against whoever. Especially if it's your business, if it's a family-owned business, if it's your business you started. Caking business, okay, so somebody says they don't want to make a cake for somebody because they're gay. you know what? That's their prerogative because that's how they want to run their business. But at the same time,
That stroke just went viral.